Yeah, why don't we call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the meeting of November the 16th. So could I get a motion to approve those minutes? Jameson moves, David seconds, all in favor? Aye. Great. Anything in terms of public comment from the folks that are joining us this evening? Hearing none. Chair's report. There's really nothing I want to say that wouldn't be duplicative of what we'll hear from Eric. I think for this evening, we'll let Eric and Travis do their update report and talk about what's occurred, where we stand, what's coming next. I had sent around the memo from Dave Cravenzola to the committee members with his update. We can discuss that after Eric and Travis are done if there are any questions on anything that's on there. But being sensitive to Eric's schedule, Jill, unless you had anything else to add for the chair's report.
I do not. Thank you.
Why don't we then turn it right over to Eric so he can jump right in.
All right, we kind of want to give an update on the OSCGR, as well as the P&Z meetings, the ARB meetings, and where we are with design development. I'm actually going to turn it over to Travis to start with the OSCGR discussions with the state, and then I'll follow up with the planning and zoning. Travis?
Yep. So we got the addendum material that was requested per the original grant application. So that went out. We sent our material out to Kermit last Wednesday before the holiday break because that was due by this past Monday. And I believe Kevin looked like and Dr. Adley got the other resolution material out to Kermit as well and looked like he confirmed that. So that should be all good. I haven't heard anything from Kermit and any other missing items. He should let us know, but we seem to be in good shape there. Our next steps are we do have to schedule a site walkthrough with Kermit for the 3 campuses. So the team's we let him know when we're available, and we're waiting for him to respond, and so we can meet him on site. Hopefully that happens.
Who ideally would you want to attend that, Travis?
It's going to be Kevin, myself, and probably Joe. We'll probably be out there with him. Yep.
Would it be helpful or necessary for either Dr. Adley or any of the committee members to be there?
I don't think Dr. Adley has to be there. I think Kevin is enough. Okay. And if one of you guys are more than welcome to join, I don't think it's necessary. I think he's just checking the paperwork and making sure he understands the scope of the work by seeing it kind of in person.
Okay. Why don't you just give us enough advance notice of when you think that's going to occur?
Yep.
And if I have the time, I should be able to do it. If it would be helpful, is just kind of a show the flag political matter.
Yep, we'll do. And then the next steps regarding the state would be we're going to need to start the paperwork for the design development review, which we really need the revised estimate so we can then upload that to the state, finish that paperwork, and then set up a next meeting with Kermit. And that'll likely happen in the early January for that. And since we really just had the SDR a month ago, so we'll be starting all that paperwork for the next round. And I know there's some space standards worksheets that we need to complete to confirm level of eligibility with reimbursables. So we'll be going over that, and we'll be, I'm sure, talking to Dr. Adley and Kevin if we have any questions. So that's where we are with OSCGNR.
All right, I'm going to pick up right from there with the design development set. So we submitted to the cost estimators yesterday with our design development set. That's all the architecture and engineering involved with the project. There's approximately a 3-week.
Let me just jump in, Eric, that I still need to send the link out to this committee. So that link I don't think went to you guys yet, and I will send it out to everyone. Sorry.
Okay. We're expecting a 3-week turnaround. Basically, the cost estimators have the next 2 weeks to estimate the 3 different projects, Hinley Homes and Royal. And then we will reconvene with both sets of estimators, reconcile the estimates, and then plan to be prepared to get back in front of this committee with where we are design development estimates.
Is there any benefit? I'm just thinking out loud here, especially on the MEP component of it, to getting what you have currently to at least Paul, so he can start looking at it sooner rather than later.
So as
Yeah, we'll
Travis
send
just-
out the whole set to your entire team.
Okay.
So if we're looking 3 weeks out from today, we could, as a committee, go over these numbers the week before Christmas, either that Tuesday 12/20 or Wednesday 12/21, if people are around and available. I'm sure that the week after that, between Christmas and New Year's, is probably going to be very difficult to get people together. So if we can get a quorum here, it would be nice to get people together just before the Christmas break. And then we would plan on, once that's completed, this committee is on board with where we are financially and with this project, then we would plan on presenting to the Board of Ed. Again, Jill, you may want to figure out when the best time to do that is, but we're thinking the first week of January 3rd, 4th, 5th, something in that week. If that week works, otherwise we could push it to the following week, but that's really up to when you have a board meeting and when we can get on the agenda.
Okay. Are we required to sign off on the DD documents as a Board of Ed?
Yes, you are.
All right.
That doesn't mean that we're stopping the design work. We're going to continue because we have deadlines of getting this work done by the end of January or early February. So there's no reason for our team to stop, and we're not planning to stop. But before we can request payment for the next phase, obviously you need to approve this current phase.
Okay. I'll work with Duke and Allen on timing on that. Thank you.
Architectural Review Board. We've met with them one time back in October related to all 3 projects, went through them. It was about a half-hour presentation and another half-hour question and answer. Most of the issues were fairly minor. They had comments related to the Holmes entrance and the Hindley entrance, and some questions related to the landscape and the further development of the landscape work. Since then, we've developed both further. I think Travis actually, when I'm finished presenting all this, can show you a couple slides of what the Holmes entrance is planned to look like for the new addition. But we plan to present to the ARB on the 13th. Our submission is due by the end of this week. We plan to submit for all 3 projects and have that presentation on the 13th. I think that what we're putting together is excellent, and I would expect that they're going to be very appreciative of the amount of effort and work and revisions that were prepared based on some of the comments that they provided. And then in terms of planning and zoning,
What time is that ARB? Just for scheduling purposes, what time is ARB on the 13th?
I believe it's at 5 o'clock. I believe it's a 5 to 6:30 meeting.
5 to 6:30. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll double check with the town calendar.
There was a couple people on the phone who are unmuted. Some of them have just mute. If you're not talking, could mute, please. There's some interference. Thank you.
So planning and zoning. Planning and zoning. We've had 2 meetings. One on the 15th of this month, and the other one was last night. The 15th, we reviewed Hindley and Royal. Last night, it was Holmes. Resubmissions, we are planning to get back in front of them for the next meeting. The meeting for Hindley and Royal is on the 10th of January. The meeting for Holmes is on the 24th of January. I think our goal is to try to resubmit material by 12/20 in preparation for those meetings. I think the Holmes submission could be after that, but really trying to get the Hindley and Royal in by then at the very least. In terms of Hindley, the major issue is stormwater. The team is reviewing ways to redirect the roof as well as site stormwater directly towards Nearwater Lane. If you know the site slopes down from Post Road, which is on the west side of the property, eastward. It also is relatively level across the site, but it also slopes from the building northward down as well. Our original plan had all the stormwater gathering being collected and piped on the north side of the property to an open detention basin, which would
Outside, I think, actually.
outside and
South side.
detain.
Yeah.
No, that's the north side of the property. Well, it was planned to be the north side. Now we're planning to divert it to the south side.
Okay. Sorry.
No problem. It's a little confusing where north, south, east, and west is on that plan. So we're now looking to take the roof rainwater as well as much of the site impervious surface rainwater from the building directly towards Nearwater and put a detention basin over on that side. And I think Joe and his team is looking into how much of that, as well as our plumbing engineers, because a lot of that impervious surface on site happens to be the building's roof. So we're looking at redirecting that water so that we lessen the amount of water that would be on the backside of the building and flowing into the detention basin there. So that's Hindley. I might as well jump into Holmes. Holmes has a similar situation where the major issue that we heard last evening from the neighbors has to do with stormwater as well. Both Phillips Lane and Lake Drive neighbors were participants in the meeting last night and addressed the Planning and Zoning Commission. I know that Kevin and the school district has done scoping of the pipe that's underneath the playing field, and that pipe is clear, and so there was no major blockage there. But our team is going to look at options in terms of how to address stormwater that's going from our property down towards Phillips, and we're also looking at opportunities for collecting the rainwater from the building and the other impervious surfaces on our site and seeing how much of that can actually be redirected towards Hoyt Street as opposed to towards our detention basin and into the wetlands and woodlands area. So that's all. It's just current events. We're going to be spending time over the course of next week trying to figure out best how to do that. As Joe mentioned last night, the site currently, if rain hits that site, it goes in 5 different directions. And we're sort of analyzing those 5 different directions and figuring out how best to address the stormwater. Right. Finally, Royal, there was no major issue at Royal. One of the comments that was addressed at that meeting had to do with the additional parking along the pickup loop and having a sidewalk which was behind the parking spaces and dedicating those parking spaces to school administrators or staff that would be there throughout the dismissal period of time, so that that could be continue to be used as part of the dismissal pickup zone. Otherwise, most of the other comments were relatively minor, and the team is looking to address those. So with that, that's pretty much the update in terms of planning and zoning, ARB, the design development, and the state work. Happy to field any questions that anybody has.
I think you picked most of it up, but in terms of upcoming sort of big milestones coming up, you mentioned P&Z in particular, and Travis talked about what's coming up with regard to OSC GNR. Any other sort of upcoming dates that people should be aware of that didn't come up in your summary there?
Travis, can you think of any?
You hit ARB,
Yes.
P&Z, and OSC GNR.
And actually, Eric, can you repeat the dates for January for P&Z?
Sure. January 10th in the evening is probably a 7:30 start, is for the Hindley and Royal projects. And January 24th is for the Holmes project. There was also a memo from O&G related to dates and the work that they're currently doing. And they had mentioned the cost estimating that they're planning to do over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, that they would be prepared for that week before the Christmas break to get together with everybody to review that. And they also are starting to look at the phasing and construction diagrams as to how we would be phasing and constructing this project on these campuses and accessing the site while school is in session.
Based on, Eric, have you and Dave talked about, so if we're looking at trying to sign off on design development on, say, the 21st, and they're doing reconciliation the week of the 19th, is it possible that we'd be talking about cost and design development approval on the 21st? Or is that not enough time for them? I don't know if I have not spoken to him about it. I don't know if you have.
We haven't spoken to him directly. He forwarded that memo, and I was planning to give him a call in the morning to speak a little bit more at length. With this committee, I think it's fair that we would be prepared to speak with you about this. In terms of authorization to proceed, I think that's a board decision, or is it a committee decision? I don't remember. Regardless, as I stated, we are planning to proceed with our construction documents. We don't have enough time to wait. So assuming that everything, there's obviously additional work to be done in areas like some of the stormwater management, things like that. We are continuing to work at that on that design basis. Some of the building aspects we are proceeding with from a construction document getting ready for permit and bid type of basis.
So should we, I mean, is it practical to think that we could have both a discussion of the design development documents and the design development cost estimate in one meeting? That sounds like it would be a kind of a marathon.
I don't think we have to. As I said, I think that we should plan on talking about the budget on the 21st, and then plan on having a meeting that first week of January to get the authorization to proceed. And if it's the same week that we're having the board meeting or the following week, that's fine either way. I think would be nice to share, and Travis, maybe you can share your screen, are the 2 or 3 rendered versions of the entrance for Holmes, which was shared last night to the planning board, and will be shared with the architectural review board in a week. So this view is looking at the main parking lot. You can see right in the middle of the picture there, that's actually the proposed new entrance. Just to the right of that is a connecting corridor that's currently in front of the cafeteria. And then on the right side is the planned music addition. And just to the right of that is where that service drive is that wraps around to the back. The next shot. And this is the view of it from the ground. There was discussions a while back after the schematic design, the design at the time, had a more contemporary look, and the suggestion was to take a little bit more reference and vernacular from the original building and tie that in and carry that through this addition. And so this is our rendition of that. I think that this is a very strong solution. It brings the overall building feel down a little bit, since we're looking at elementary school kids. It has a fairly nice feel for that age group. It also pulls out from the original design, it pulls out the entrance vestibule. So that entrance vestibule creates a security people trap there, while at the same time, once you get through that zone, the corridor continues so that anybody who's going to the music wing doesn't get obstructed or have to sort of jog around the main entrance vestibule. So this is a much more cleaner solution. It also pulls the entrance out from the corner. If you look at the existing photograph in the middle at the bottom there, you can see where that entrance is, sort of tucked into the corner of the building. This gives it more prominence. It addresses the driveway drop off that bends around at a 45 at that location.
You like that, Paula?
Yes, I like it very much. I'm trying to get my camera on. I think it's beautiful, and I think it solves for a lot of different problems. And I think I'm really happy with it. I don't have any
Great.
more.
Eric,
you.
there were a couple.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There were a couple of reasons why, in addition to unifying the front and creating more of an entrance, additional reasons included a better way to accommodate security coming into the building, correct? Also, you were avoiding, there's I believe a weight-bearing column that you were going to have to remove, and this, if I recall correctly. So do you want to just remind us quickly why because this will involve some design contingency funds. I fully support it, but it would be helpful to understand some of the background.
Absolutely. So when we got into looking at the previous design a little bit more in depth, we found the original structural steel drawings, and the structural design at the time had some columns that ran right across the lobby where we were trying to create this vestibule, and the columns were causing very strange circulation patterns. By pulling this vestibule out, we're able to leave the existing structure in place. A much easier construction project over the course of the summer to address. And then also in terms of security, the existing lobby as it stands today has this glass, I guess, vestibule that was thoughtfully put in at the time to address safety and security for the building. But it also, when we're thinking about putting this new addition in front of the building, we knew that we were taking that away, and we pulled this vestibule out to create that cleaner sense of security vestibule with a reception welcome desk directly facing this lobby reception vestibule, so that as people enter the building, they will be welcomed by a friendly face every day.
And you were ballparking I'm not tying you to anything, but we're talking about in terms of incremental costs, something in the neighborhood of what?
We think the incremental cost is probably about $100,000. I think that we will find out once the estimators get through in a few weeks exactly where we're at there. But we think that there is some additional cost to this.
Yeah. And as a reminder, we have design contingencies specifically for this purpose, that as we're going through the design process, if things should come up, that the design dictates that there was some flexibility. So I think we looked at the numbers. There's plenty of flexibility. I forget. Dave Martin, do you happen to have offhand, hate to put you on the spot, what our contingency number is for homes? Design contingency.
I don't have that right at hand now.
it was more than $1 million as opposed to the 100,000. And this is part of the overall process. That's why we go through multiple cost estimates. We do a schematic design. We carry a heavy design contingency at the end of the schematic design, at the end of design development. Some of that design contingency gets utilized because the cost estimators have more information. Because they have more information, they can be more exact with their estimates, and they don't need as much contingency money left over. So as we go through this, at the end of each step, that contingency gets reduced. The cost design contingency gets reduced. We continue to maintain a construction contingency all the way through, because the construction obviously happens after the design is complete and we're out there building.
I know we're trying to get Eric out of here, but I know Kevin and Alan had a chance to look at it, and I also don't know if they want to say anything, or if Jameson or Paul, who are very familiar with the building, also want to say anything.
Yeah, I'll step in real quick because I know Eric's got to go. It looks good. I think it will be well worth the money and time to have it kind of out of the existing lobby as it is now. It'll help carry the flow through the new connecting corridor, like Eric mentioned. And it actually provides like a nice face to the building now of where you walk up to, because right now the entrance is hidden in the corner. It doesn't really look like the entrance to the building. So I think it'll provide a nice aspect to the front of the building that'll help with the other stuff as well. So thank you.
And Jill, that number you're looking for is 1.7 million.
Thank you, David.
Thanks,
I
David.
really like the enhancements.
Yeah, it makes it look like that's really the entrance. You know, that's going to be the new focal point and the new real entrance of the school, as versus the bigger, older part of the school. So
yeah, I echo this. I echo the sentiments that Jameson just said. It gives it a more structured front entrance, which is desperately needed there.
Corey, I think you're representing our parent group. Do you have anything you want to say or not say in terms of at this point?
Yeah, sure. I'll say something. I really like the look of this too, and I agree that it's hard to see where the entrance is at the school unless you go there every day. And this changes the focal point. I'm really pleased with this. I got a chance to see it yesterday, and I was pleasantly surprised. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts from the committee members on Eric or Travis's summary, or the summary that Dave Crevenzola sent around, that anybody wants to bring up before we lose Eric?
This looks great, Eric. Thank you.
Dr. Adley?
Yeah, I just want to thank Eric, and then say that I'd like to try and get, and we just discussed this on a quick meeting with my principals again, just to review the functionality and operation of the courtyards. So that needs to be done, pretty quickly.
Who would you like at that meeting? Who would you like from either the design team or the building committee, if anybody, to attend that?
Well, clearly I need my principals there, and Travis, Kevin, and any representative who would want to attend is welcome to attend. But I just want to look at that functionality again of those, make sure my principals have had a wee chance to review the sort of status of it.
And we would obviously invite the landscape architect as well to be part of that.
Yes, of course.
When do we need to do that? Oh, sorry, Paula. When do we need to do that? Is that in the next couple of weeks before the holiday, or is that early January? Just so we can.
I think you'd want to have that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally as quickly as possible.
It would be great if it could be either later next week or early the following week.
Okay.
It's nice to get the design decisions done before January, because January is really going to be a focused month for us to be working pretty significantly in our drawings.
Okay.
That's all we had on the agenda. Jill, anything you want to add? Anything anybody from the committee needs to add? Eric, thank you. Why don't you duck out? And we'll talk soon.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
If there's nothing else,
The
Go
only thing I would say, maybe, David, do you want to just talk quickly about what you're working on in terms of the finances, just so the committee knows? We'll be talking next meeting about regular financial updates, and David's working on that.
I'm looking to design a format for us for regular financial updates to the extent possible. I already have the estimates that were provided by O&G, so I'm using that as my starting framework. Jen is going to run tomorrow a run of all payments that have been made on each of the different schools. So I will get them broken down by vendor, by date. So that I can attempt to see if they fit neatly into the classifications that we've already done. And I've reached out to the Oxbridge committee to see what they are using, to see if they have a standard template that they use for review.
now will you, as part of that, I know this came up in a email thread today with Linda O'Leary. There are certain charges that are pass-through reimbursements. They're billed to KG&D, and then KG&D just adds them to their invoices. Will those be broken out so we can track those as well, or will you just maybe because they're not, they're just being passed through at cost, but they're not direct payments by the town. They're payments to KG&D, who then reimburse those vendors. So that would be like Bldg Gallagher, for example.
I don't know. The way that the system is looking to be designed is we would be cutting a check to KG&D in that particular case. So I'm not sure I'm going to have that granular detail unless I ask KG&D to provide it separately.
Well, the details on their invoices, right? So I think that's and there are copies of the third-party invoices included with their invoices. The reason this came up is because those third-party invoices were broken out and somehow got in the system to get paid directly by the town, which they didn't need to be. But maybe worth checking with Oxbridge to see how they treated reimbursables that were passed through by SLAM.
Yeah, I will check.
Anything else from anybody? If not, then could I get a motion to adjourn? Jameson moves, Jill seconds, all in favor? Sarah, David, Chris, unanimous. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Paul, good. Great to see everybody, and we'll talk.